So welcome back everybody. Today's episode we're going to do something a little fun. We're heading to the shop and we're going to do some work here on my American CLS tractor splitter. So what we are trying to do is make the process of hooking up even easier. You can see with most three-point equipment you have to fight with alignment, especially on something that's heavy like this that sticks way out. You have to have it set up perfectly. We're wanting to figure out how to adapt this to a quick hitch, back up, hook up, and then all you have to do manually is just place the pump on the PTO shaft. So Mr. Larry, the owner of American CLS, by the way, this company has been around like 40 years. Well, he's ready to update his tractor design right here. So we're gonna have to move some pins and locations around on this one. We're gonna retrofit it to where it can hook up to a quick hitch. We'll show you this here in just a second. Basically, we can back right up with a quick hitch, lift up, go. It'll really simplify the hookup process of this. So Mr. Larry is getting some ideas gathered up and he is going to make his new machines to where they're quick hitch compatible. But he didn't want to forget about all the customers over the last few decades that's been buying some of his equipment. So today I'm going to build a retrofit kit here. We're going to try to use some of the factory mounting locations and we're going to have to move some mounting points around, but we're going to try to do it to where anybody that currently owns one of these, well, they're not left out. Should they decide to upgrade to an I Match or a quick hitch, they can retrofit their current model or they can just leave it to where you can hook up to 3-point just like this. I thought that was a really good idea that Mr. Larry wanted to take care of existing customers, not just come up with a new design and then leave people hanging out there. So I'm gonna work on my own retro kit because I have an I Match Quick Hitch now and see if it'll work. And if he wants to take any ideas off of what I do, that's great. If not, he's gonna be designing his own anyways. But he told me he would love some feedback there. So let's get in the shop, get this figured out, and make this even quicker and easier to hook up. I already love the splitter itself, but if we can make hookup even easier, why not? All right, so let's talk about this in case you want to modify some of your equipment for a quick hitch or I Match. I've actually been doing this off camera the last few days to other equipment that I have. And that's because of a lot of the tractor equipment that's been built over the last few years is not quick hitch compatible, but a lot of companies are starting to make their stuff that way because quick hitches are becoming so popular. So there's a few things we have to look at. How far apart this pin is, especially this edge right here, from over here. Will it fit in between a quick hitch? I already know this one will not, I just measured. The other very important point is how far away is this pinhole right here from the center of that pin, because they have to be a certain distance apart this way. The other very important thing is wherever this pin is has to be exactly where this pin is if you want quick release of a hitch. What I'm saying is, see how this pin's here? If I go straight down, there's nothing. This pin is offset this way by several inches. They have to be straight in line. Let me show you why that's important. Here is a John Deere I Match Quick Hitch right here. So if we take a look, notice how where a pin drops in here is perfectly in line with the top pin. They can't be offset one way or another, or you'd have to get out and constantly adjust your top link, pivoting it this way or that way. Well, that's not going to be compatible with all your equipment. So another thing to check out, there's kind of industry standard here. You see inside to inside is 27 inches. So whatever we have that fits in between here can't be wider than 27 or we can't hook up to it. The other very important number, while a quick hitch is adjustable up and down where the hook is, I have mine set to where all my other quick hitch compatible equipment is. And it just so happens from where that pin is to the bottom of the top hook there is around 14.5 to 15 inches. We have to be in that range. Let me show you why this is all important. If we come over here to a piece of equipment that I have that's quick hitch ready, you can see I've already got my bushings in there to upsize to the quick hitch. Again, we've got to fall within a certain range there because it was 27 wide over there, so in between pin to pin is around 28.5. They have to be in line, so we're hooking up to that pin right there. Don't forget height from down here to the center of that pin also matters, about 15 inches. So there's a lot of numbers you're working with. All of your new stuff that's quick hitch ready like this is going to be set up to industry standards. You can see my little flail mower's the same way over here. Spaced correctly, top pins are perfectly in line with the bottom pins. This is quick hitch compatible. So now I got to come up with a creative way to not only make this work, but I want it to be strong and something that if Mr. Larry decides to incorporate any of my design, he can have his fab shop weld up as a retrofit kit. I was going to do 2 individual loose fitting parts, but the pins are so far apart on the log splitter, I think I need to make one solid bolt-on piece. So one of the issues we're having here, this top pin is, oh my goodness, 20 something inches away from this pin. Remember, we got to be around 14.5 to 15, so it's way too high. I would have to build something that would come out way down to about right here. Well, that kind of starts getting a little odd, and I need to use this pin, either bolt through there or pin on there, and I have to use these 2 factory bolt holes right here. We're going to remove this piece because it's too wide, by the way, can't even use it, and we need to use the bolt there. So I've got to utilize these 3 factory points to build and mount a new piece to, because you can't call it a retrofit kit if you got to ship it to somebody and they have to drill holes and weld and all that. I want to make something that can just pin or bolt right in, probably a combination of both. So one quick piece that we can use is a factory drawbar. We can actually utilize this, and we may. The spacing is already correct for John Deere, but here's one thing to note. Whenever you use that quick hitch of any kind, they got the big gigantic hooks that come on here. Well, it'll be loose fitting in this pin, and you don't want it to be able to slide off the end. That's where these adapters are available. They're sold all over the internet for people converting older equipment like this. So you put it to where that pinhole is there, knock this pin in, and now look what you've got. You got proper spacing, you got the proper width for that quick hitch hook to come up, and it can't slide off the end because now it's capped. And we just put one on over here. This is kind of more along in the lines for something for a retro kit. The other thing I need to keep in mind, I need to try to do this out of relatively cheap, affordable, and available materials, so the end user doesn't wind up with something that's expensive as a retrofit. 2-inch square tubing, very strong, very widely available. Most welding shops are going to have it. The stuff's relatively affordable to buy it in a 20-foot stick. All right, so we're at a point where I've already made one little mistake. I got it corrected, and I think I'm gonna scrap the original design of using this bar because it's just wasting metal and expense, and something else just came to me. All right, so my plan was to use this drawbar right here. I was just gonna drill some holes through here and bolt it to this piece, but I'm using thick wall steel. This stuff is so robust, it can easily handle that. It really can, at least I think it can. And since I'm doing this for the splitter that's here for me and not for somebody else, I think I'm gonna go with it. So I'm gonna scrap using this bar. There's no point in wasting all that metal and that expense. I have a couple of these laying around. I always keep spares because occasionally you can bend these if you run into something. I think I'm just gonna take the nut off of these and heavily weld these to the bottom side. You know, for example, like if this was the bottom side, I'm just gonna weld that in. That should work just fine. This piece is plenty strong enough, no point in wasting all that other stuff there. Then we'll just take these off, put them onto here. Now where I messed up, I should have made these two pieces come out 2 inches further and left this bar right where it's at, because I needed these hooks to be out another 2 inches away from here, because I've got to put this pin another 2 inches out because we have a huge hook that's coming up and in. If I had welded this bar right to the edge like I was originally planning on, well, then this hook would have been way out here and I would have had to come in at a weird angle with the I Match, and that just wouldn't have worked. We've got a huge hook that we got to allow adequate room to come up against and hook into a pin floating somewhere out here. Now what I did is I just welded in another piece of 2 inch here, plenty strong enough that'll work, but in the future I think I'd have just run these two all the way out to here, welded them in, and there would have just been a little bit of a gap right there. That would have been perfect, but this way works just fine. All right, y'all, it doesn't get much easier than that. It goes from several minutes of hooking up and fighting a little just because of the awkward nature of this to literally back up, hook up in seconds. I am some kind of pleased with the way this turned out. I was afraid my hydraulic hoses wasn't gonna be long enough because got to keep in mind we've shifted everything out so much with the mount and then with this I Match right here. But no, we still got plenty of hose length, and luckily I didn't cut this one from factory, left it coiled up, plenty there. All right, so I'm not seeing any major flex, anything like that. Believe it or not, the top is actually loose in this hole right now. So all the support is down here on this piece, and there's dual 3/4 inch bolts. I mean, 3/4 inch bolts, a hefty bolt. I think it'll be just fine. So you're doing all your lifting from these points down here. That's heavily reinforced. What this hook's doing right here is helping support all the counter lever weight right there, you know. That's actually quite a bit as well, especially when we go bouncing around. Now again, don't forget, this is something I whipped up. I take full responsibility for whatever happens here, and I'm gonna shoot this over to Mr. Larry and see if he wants to steal any ideas off of it, or he may look at it and say, no, that's not what we're looking for. Also, what I'm gonna do, because I built this is for me personally, I'm gonna go torture test it. I'm gonna go run around, make this thing bounce, which is gonna put a ton of stress on that mount, make sure we don't have any failure points, welds, bolts, anything like that. I think this really needs to be torture tested before I could really give my honest opinion on it as well. But ultimately, what I did here, now that we're starting to run I matches and quick hitches, I think I'm gonna get a quick hitch for this tractor because I'm slowly converting all my equipment over to the I match and quick hitch. That's just what we're trying to accomplish here. This splitter has always been a little aggravating to hook up. Love the splitter, don't get me wrong. And we're gonna use it a lot traveling here before long, but I want a quicker way to drop it off and hook up. And it doesn't get any quicker than pull these pins right here, lower this down on a couple blocks of wood, drive away. Well, you gotta take your pump off. Pretty much all that's left to do is to pound in some caps like this, give it some finishing touches. Although it serves no purpose, I kind of wish I had a welded an end cap on here just to make it look a little more professional. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. This thing's gonna get scratched up, beat up, and used here around the property. All right, y'all, that was a fun build. Hopefully you enjoyed hanging out in the shop with me, welding up. This is why I learned skills like welding and have some of the equipment I can do. When I see a need for something that's gonna help make life easier for me, we can just come out here and fabricate it. I love doing that. I always encourage y'all to learn some skills, learn welding, learn woodworking, get you some tools, and just get out in your garage, your shop, or the front yard and try to learn some stuff. All right, y'all, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.